So I released this video about a week ago, and right as my video came out, Hypixel decided to release an update that reworked the Mage class quite drastically. I've been getting a lot of comments to make an updated Bonzo vs Frozen Scythe video, although I feel like as if a more appropriate video would be covering whether Mage is still viable. So that's exactly what we'll be doing today. But before we go any further, I'd like to quickly say that if you have any further questions or comments about this video, be sure to pop into my Twitch streams. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The links are down in the description below. We have a lot of open discussions over there, so I highly recommend checking it out. With that out of the way, let's get right into the video. Okay, so here we are in the Hypixel hub here, wearing my full Very Wise Dragon armor, all enchanted with my level 56 epic sheep pet, and we are going to get into this video here about the Mage rework, and to talk about a couple of things that I feel like are really important to this whole update that did come out. So before we get started here, I do want to say a couple of things, and it's that I feel like a lot of people are actually over dramatizing the effect of this nerf. So before the nerf actually happened, the state of Mage was a really weird one. So essentially every single pro dungeons team, everybody on it would be using a Bonzo staff at the minimum. Like, everyone would have a Bonzo staff, and essentially people would be running 5 Mage dungeons and just going crazy. One would be one of the tanks, a Mage that has a lot of speed, a Mage that does a lot of magic damage. It was really weird. The meta was very, very broken, essentially all focused around Mage, and that was something that I feel like was very, very OP, and a lot of people who were just starting out could just pick up a wise set, get a decent magic weapon, and just be better than people who have grinded for so long getting tuxedos and other really high damage boosting items and still do more damage than them as a whole. So that's something that I wanted to get out of the way before we get started here. But the second thing that I also want to cover is that I feel like doing just damage comparisons or damage tests like I normally do in these sort of videos is not going to be very accurate to how Mage actually works, because Mage is meant to be a class that does a lot of damage over time and not something that just does a lot of high burst damage in one single shot. It's not meant to be a class that just one-shots every mob it runs into. It's meant to be a class that's able to do a lot of damage, just repeatedly pelting down an enemy with a ton of balloons or with a bunch of Dreadlord sword abilities and stuff, and just be able to clear out flaws and be a very good support as a whole. So I'm still going to do a lot of damage tests like on zealots and on zombies and things like that, just so you guys get an idea of the amount of damage the weapons are dealing. But I'm also going to play some dungeons footage later on in the video that does cover a way more accurate and sort of better representation of how Mage is right now on some floor 2 runs that I recorded earlier before this video. So without further ado here, let's just go straight to the crypt, I guess. If we just quickly teleport to the crypt ghouls, you can see here that we'll actually just use the Bonzo staff just to start things off, just so you guys get an understanding of how the Bonzo staff is looking like after the nerf. So let's just run through the crypt here real quickly. If I just shoot a balloon at this crypt ghoul, you can see it does 10,000 damage, 10,544 to be exact. Another shot there, 10,544. Once again, 10,544. The game is a little bit slow right now, but it should be alright here. And also just to show you guys what my talismans are looking like, you can see that I have Bizarre on every single one here, just to give myself the maximum amount of intelligence that I can get. So I should be able to do a lot more damage with that as well. So let's just keep running through here. I'm pretty sure the highest damage that we're going to be able to do here is just 10,544. It's stuck at that number. How about we switch over to the Dreadlord sword? Now if I just shoot this cryptical right here and wait for the game to speed up a little bit, because it is getting a little bit laggy, 8,935 damage is what we're doing. If we just shoot these guys as well, you can see that that one did 8,718 damage. If I just shoot these guys one more time, that one did 8,000 again. 8,600. So the Dreadlord sword is a little bit worse than the Bonzo stuff, although bear in mind that the Dreadlord sword is literally like 10k coins on the auction house. Like the one that I've got here, I bought off of the auction house for 10k coins, heroic and everything, already good to go. The only thing that I did end up doing to it was just 5-starring it with like just under 200 undead essence or something like that. So it was really, really cheap to get, and it does a very good amount of damage, actually comparable to that of the Bonzo staff. So you can actually see here, if I just right click it a ton of times here, I can shoot out a lot of Wither Skulls pretty much at the speed that I can shoot my Bonzo staff at. So I would say this is a very good cheap budget option. It's one that got buffed a lot recently with the new rework, so I feel like that's something to also keep in mind. But now that we have tested this on the criticals, let's go over to the end now, test it on some zealots, because I feel like a lot of people are going to be using Mage just in the Dragon's Den as well. Okay, so here we are in the Dragon's Nest. Going to do a quick comparison with the Bonzo and the Dreadlord once again, just to show you guys some damage numbers, but on some Endermen. I do know that my Bonzo staff does have Ender Slayer on it, but I don't think the Dreadlord actually does. So the Dreadlord may not have any differences at all, but we are just about to find out right here. So we'll just wait for one of the Zealots to spawn, and then we'll just shoot that thing down. Right here we got one there. I'll just shoot my Bonzo balloons. That did 14,000 damage. If I just shoot that one over there, that also does 14,078 damage. We'll also just shoot this one really quickly here. See how much damage we did. I think 11,000 and 14. So 11,000, 14,000 and 18,000 on that one. I will be pausing the screenshots for you guys to see a little bit better. Anyways, now we'll switch over to the Dreadlord. So we've actually got an Obby Defender right over here. So we'll just try and hit that thing, doing 9,000 damage then, and 800 damage crit, which is expected someone to do that much damage anyways. So we did 9,000 damage to the Enderman. We're actually doing a little bit more damage to Enderman than we are to the Crypt Schools. I'm not sure why that is. It might be Giant Killer, I think it is. Yeah, this sword does have Giant Killer on it. We just shoot the Zealot again. We do 9,000 damage, 9,356. We'll just shoot a bunch of the Dreadlords over there. 13,000 damage. So we do a little bit more damage for some reason. Maybe because we hit more of the Wither Skulls on the Zealots there. But as you can see here, we are doing a pretty solid amount of damage to these Zealots. Like, we're just able to barely one-shot, which is expected for a Mage. In my opinion, like I said, if you're able to shoot so rapidly, like right here, I could just like sort of shoot a ton of Wither Skulls. It's no big deal if it takes me 2 or 3 shots to kill an Obby Defender or 2 or 3 shots to kill something like a Zealot. Then it really shouldn't be any big deal when playing Mage, because you're able to output so many attacks so quickly in such a short amount of time. It just lets you like spam like this real quick. You can see I'm able to just take out these Zealots no problems at all, and it's really, really useful for Mage, and I feel like that's what really balances it out from the other classes. A Mage shouldn't be able to one-shot things. It shouldn't be able to do massive damage like a Berserker can, but rather that over time periodic amount of damage, which is what makes it so good, and it's what makes it more of a viable class. So now that we've done a quick damage test on those basic mobs, the Crypt Ghouls and the Zealots, giving you guys a little bit of a comparison to go off of. Like I said before, it's not really accurate of how good Mage is just because you can deal a decent amount of damage. It's more so how it performs in a good environment such as a Dungeons run where Mage is going to matter a lot more. So with all that being said, how about I show you guys all the footage of the dungeon runs, and now I'm going to commentate over those, give you my thoughts, opinions, and things you guys should definitely know about. Okay, so for the first run here, I mostly use the Dreadlord sword, so I'll be commentating over that weapon specifically and how useful it is to the Mage class. So right at the start here, you can see me single-handedly taking out quite a large group of mobs, and I managed to do so pretty well with a sword that literally cost me only 10k coins. Already you will notice that Mage is still quite powerful and able to do a consistent amount of damage from a distance, although it's definitely not as broken as it was before. This next clip is me going up against a Lost Adventurer, and already you will notice that I'm having a little bit of difficulty trying to handle it on my own. My abilities don't deal enough damage to burst down the mini-boss, although I'm able to do a great job at keeping it at a distance until my Berserker teammate could come along and help me take it out. I feel as if this is the way that Mage should be played, not as the overpowered class that it used to be, being able to steamroll through all the floors. The last clip for this run is myself and my tank teammate singling out the priest, where we were able to dish out a great amount of damage to it, while the rest of our teammates were dealing with the warrior and the other minions. Once again, it's clear that Mage isn't as powerful as it once was, but it's still strong enough to be able to hold its own and support teammates when needed. We were able to completely obliterate Scarf towards the end here, getting a quick 12-minute S run. This next run I focused a lot more on using the Bonzo staff, just like in my previous Mage video. I went up against the Angry Archaeologist first up in this run, being able to keep my distance and output a lot of damage. I did end up getting a little bit too close however, so I took quite a bit of damage from its arrows as we hadn't gotten any blessings yet. Although this is still a great representation of the reworked Mage, being able to still do a solid amount of damage, but the playstyle has changed drastically, disallowing more aggressive plays and focusing a lot more on survivability. In these next couple clips, you can see that I'm able to easily wipe out large groups of mobs, although still focusing largely on staying alive and playing more defensive. In this second clip, I actually ended up falling into the group of mobs, but I managed to simply teleport back up and continue to use my abilities from a distance, eventually clearing out all the mobs and being able to progress further into the dungeon. The Bonzo staff is very comparable to the Dreadlord sword, although the higher mana capacity and the slightly higher damage makes it just that extra bit more effective. Once again in the boss room, we did a great job of splitting up the team onto all the minions with my focus on the priest. I was able to dish out a lot of damage to it with a combination of my ultimate ability and the Bonzo staff, making quick work of the priest and the other minions. Once all that was taken out, we flawlessly took out Scarf, once again rewarding us with yet another S run. Overall, I think it's safe to say that Mage is still a great class to play, and the rework was 100% needed, but not as detrimental as some may think. And that essentially wraps up today's video. So just to give my final thoughts on the situation with the whole Mage rework, the nerfs to all the main weapons like the Frozen Sight and the Bonzo stuff, I don't want to say that. I still think Mage is a great class. It's still really good to play and very, very useful in dungeons, but I definitely do agree with all the changes they made. I do like the fact that it's not as overpowered as it was before. Still able to hold its own, but mainly focused on defense and playing way more passive, as that's very, very important as a mage to be able to dish out lots of damage over time, but not completely burst something down within seconds and deal a crazy amount of damage. So that being said, guys, hopefully you all enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel because I make these Hypixel Skyblock videos every Wednesdays and Fridays. And also, if you have any further questions or comments about this video, be sure to pop into my Twitch streams. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The links are down in the description below. It's a great place to be. I'm able to talk with you guys all the time over there. So if you do have any concerns or some suggestions even, feel free to visit me when I'm live. But with all that being said, hopefully you all enjoyed this video. And as always, take care and peace.
Flip diamond,
Okay.
Ben, flip diamond.
Take off your pants.
I'm taking the road.
Ben!
Did your pants?
He said take off your pants, so he took his pants off.
Someone clip that.